very clear to me was that beyond the ordinary state that we've all gotten accustomed to of the complete collapse of service delivery, the people in this constituency were starving. Now, we can use the term food insecure as a euphemism, but we need to call it what it is: a policy and a moral scandal. And we may have become desensitized to the idea that adults are starving. But in this particular district, and in many others that we've seen since then, children are starving. And we have a huge issue in this country of childhood stunting, which comes from malnutrition and the fact that kids are not getting the kind of food that they need. And obviously, the medium and long-term effects of this are terrifying for the country, because what it means is that it prejudices the chance of any child to have a normal adulthood, that by the time a child starts school, they have been so malnourished that they aren't able to fully engage in what they need to. And so we are failing young people before they even begin their lives. That particular constituency was one of the worst, and at the time, definitely the worst child stunting stats in the country. The fourth thing, which I think we all know, is that the median age of South Africa is 27, despite what our parliament is, which is about 66. And so we have so many young people who are out of a job, and for the most of them, they're going to spend their lives at least from 18 until 65 waiting for their pension grant, unable to hold a steady job or have stable income. This is not a situation that we can continue to have. And I think worst still is that 85% of these young people, as studies have shown, have to make the choice between buying food or seeking a job. And then the fifth thing that was weighing heavily on me when I was in politics, and all of these things were a big reason of why I tried to change the system I was in and run for the positions I did, is that voters are turning away from the system of our politics because they don't feel that it's for them. There's a huge correlation usually with the results and the rates of high voter turnout, big participation in elections, and accountability. But you just have to look at South Africa, whether it's a Thabo Bester case, corruption scandals every single day, to see that that's not what is happening in this country. And so I was incredibly frustrated with this, and I could see that where I was not going to allow me the opportunity to tackle some of these issues. And so this is why I formed GWC. And to not become the kind of people that are self-satisfied with their own ideas of what's wrong with the country, we made sure that we also commissioned extensive research with a reputable research partner. We wanted to understand the issues more fully before we could try to solve them. And so myself and my team listened to thousands of stakeholders over the last year. We've been to every single province across the country. We've had face-to-face interviews. We've met with young people, heads of household. We've listened to experts in the various industries. And for us, it signified and solidified what we felt were the three most important things that we could contribute to. And those things are food production, skills development and entrepreneurship, and democracy and civic participation. And as GWC, I'm very proud to say that those are the pillars that we are going to be focusing on and have already started working on. And I just want to give a little bit more detail into some of these. When we talk about food production, what we really are saying is that we want to have a home-based garden in homes, because I don't know about you, but mina ngiphume emakhaya, so as long as I was growing up, my gran was able to plant things, and we were able to always have food from a garden. That's no longer the case in many parts of South Africa, and it's why we have such a huge malnutrition and stunting problem, as well as people starving. We really want to bring back that skill, and we want to bring back the food security into communities. For people that don't have that skill, that's what we want to be doing. Of course, with that is also the expansion of those community food gardens to be in schools, because we know that our national feeding scheme is not working the way that it should be. But more importantly, creches, because those are the places where the government has overlooked actually having food schemes and that need it the most, because young children actually need to be nourished at that age. And so we want to have food gardens, and as well as make sure that people understand the importance of nutrition. In terms of supporting entrepreneurs and young people to participate in the economy, we've been very lucky as GWC, and myself in particular, to have come across many people in my 2 decades in politics who have the resources and have the skills and have the ability to really be able to uplift young people who have the ideas, from ideation to startup. I could go and start a political party, but I really feel that this is where I'm more needed, making sure that those people are able to connect to the kind of people that can take their ideas forward. And in this particular cohort, we want to make sure that we're making young people who are interested in making sure that their economic activity is for the community to be the ones that we focus on the most. And then the third pillar is the one about civic participation in our democratic processes. For us, this means increasing the number of registered people who will vote. It means not just doing that, but also making sure that they have an awareness and understanding of their civic rights and responsibilities through training sessions that we're going to be having. And more importantly, it means that making sure that they have available to them easy to understand ways that they can access all this information, especially for people in rural areas who may not have data or who may not have signal. I cannot state and overstate the importance of civic education, because without this, we are all going to be stuck in the situation where we wonder every election why it is that we keep getting the same results. And that's because in our country, what we actually have an abundance of is voter education. So we tell people how to vote, where to put their eggs and all that kind of stuff, and we kind of tell them why it's important. But that actually doesn't matter if you don't have civic education. This is where you teach people, how does the system work? How are you able to close the gap of what a political party or political player is doing, and how are you as a citizen able to use the plethora of legislation that we have at our basically tips of our hands to be able to use for that? People don't know this information. Incredibly smart people who you think would have access to information don't do it. And even though it should be something that's done in schools, it hasn't been done so. And if we are waiting for political parties to do this, we're going to be waiting a very long time. Because what political parties do is they take the people that they know will definitely vote for them and give them that information and make sure that they are the ones that they can take us to go and vote. Which means that we are left with a huge number of people who are eligible to vote, who are actually not registering because they don't see what the political contribution for them to do so is. And so when we were doing our research as DWC, we found that despite the fact that we have really low registration among young people, they have a disproportionate size in the electorate. And so what we're going to be doing, and I'll announce this further in my speech, is something to galvanize a huge amount of young people that are going to be able to change the system of what happens next year. And if you want to create this cohort of young people, you have to start by registering them. But more importantly, you actually then have to do the civic education. Because if you don't do that, what you're going to have is young people who continually opt out of the situation of voting and create a trend and a habit of not voting.